Right.
You need James and Russ versus LeBron and AD.
Right.
Just on, I'm not saying I would pick them to win, but you need magnitude.
Yeah.
You need two guys who are not afraid of the other two guys because it is a star power game in the end. But this is a coach's game here. This is a defensive struggle. This is whose will prevail. And in this game, do you realize what happened without Russell Westbrook? Do you realize in the first 3 games, they had him dead to rights? It should have been 3-0. No, 3-0, you could argue.
Oh, yeah, when they got back into the overtime game, I'm like,
okay, remember, they basically blew him out the first 2 games.
Right.
That's no Russ, just James being James, and the Rockets being the Rockets because they play hard defense.
Right.
They'll play a little zone, but they'll play some hard man-to-man, and they steal the ball, and they disrupt you, and they get up in you, and they get after you the way we're going to talk about the Miami Heat in a minute. But they play like the Heat play on defense. But in the end, they had the 3rd game won. Daniel House goes to the free throw line, and if he makes the 2nd free throw, I think they're going to win.
Yep.
And he missed it. So the game was tied, and then Chris Paul did a little up and under reverse and left it a little short at the buzzer, and it goes to overtime, and Oklahoma City blew him out in overtime. Okay, what if Daniel House makes the 2nd free throw and it's 3-0?
Right, yeah.
Well, I think the Rockets are going to be okay. And then game 4 was fairly close, but they led, the Rockets led 108-107 with 141 left and lost that game down the stretch.
Right.
Well, here comes Russ back for game 5 and 6. And nothing good is happening because let's look at last night. You said you thought it was over there for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 4:19 is left in this game. It's a 6-point Rocket lead, and the Rockets have the ball. Okay, can you get that home? You've got James and Russ.
Right.
2 stars to 1 star on the other side. Good team on the other side, but you got 2 to 1.
Right.
Can the 2 mesh? Can they figure out how to get this one home? Well, James comes down and misses a fairly contested 3. And then Russ comes down the next possession and misses a driving layup, okay? Then CP3, to his credit, he steals the ball from James first. That's at 2:33. Then Eric Gordon misses a 3, and then CP3 comes right back and steals it from Russ. So he's got 2 huge steals, and meanwhile, you know what's happening. He hits the 2 dancing threes that you talked about. And then, now we're to this. Let's look at this real quick. This is the closing stretch. So Russell Westbrook does one good thing in the last 4:19. He drives it home with a right-handed power layup, and then he stops
109.
109, and he stops to kind of beat his chest about it and say, "Look at me, I did that." He's giving it to the sideline, and he doesn't hustle back on defense, and Schroeder, he's not quite set, and Schroeder just goes right by him and lays it up because he's so focused to me. I did that. Well, it's not enough, and the game's suddenly tied again, and then he comes down the next possession and goes up and shoots. That missed by 2 feet short.
Yeah, it wasn't close.
That's a West brick. That is terrible. It takes the heart out of your team, and it left them with a short clock, and James has a contested 3 at the clock and misses it badly. And now that brings us to the last possession. So Chris makes his 2 free throws.
Yes.
More power to him because he can do that.
Right.
Okay, help me out on this last possession, please. You have James Harden, who can be, by all accounts, as unstoppable an offensive threat as we've ever seen, maybe in the history of the game. Is there a better one-on-one player than James Harden?
Not currently.
I don't think so. You can argue ever on the perimeter.
Right.
Jordan was better. Kobe's better. Full all court.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about as a perimeter player.
Yeah, he can.
It's just hard to deal with him because he can do 2 things. He can step back and he can go right by you and lay it up with either hand.
Yep.
And he's got great slither through the lane to slither.
And you finally me going to the free throw line,
he's going to make them because he's about a 90% free throw shooter. So what were they doing? Russ takes the ball up the floor.
Right.
And James goes and tries to pick for him.
Right.
But it's a disaster. It's like a traffic jam of bodies in the middle of the floor. And Russ realizes that Chris Paul has come completely off P.J. Tucker, who goes completely to the other corner. He just leaves him.
Right.
So you could have had that shot all day. You got a wide open 3 there to win the game.
Skip, I'm watching this play unfold. If you look, and I'm thinking Chris Paul is getting picked, and so he's going to go meet Russ at the rim. He immediately goes to Covington because he knows that's what Russ wants to do. And Russ throws it away.
First, I thought he cut off Russ.
Yes, but if you
I mean, Chris did it all. He sort of guarded the whole play.
If you watch him skip,
Yeah,
he immediately takes off to Covington.
He did.
Look at no hesitation.
I got it. He was all over that play from the start. Because remember, originally he's on P.J. Tucker, who comes to the near corner.
Right.
And he just camped over there.
He's like, you're not passing to PJ.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess he just said, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and one of those two guys is going to shoot it. So you start off the play, and you've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's on Russ coming up the court, and then there's kind of a weak pick by James Harden, who's not exactly a pick artist, right? Is that what he does?
No. That's...
And they said after the game, that's the D'Antoni said that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
What is it?
What is they?
So is Russ going to... Court was originally on James, who's pretty strong and solid as a rookie out of Arizona State.
Well, Skip, I'm looking at the play. Covington had it going from the 3.
Yep.
And so I think Covington was going to take that last shot. Now, I don't know, do I want Covington or James?
That was the plan.
Because Harden picked Russ, because he didn't even drop the... Okay, if Harden picks, he drops the ball off to Harden, okay. But he doesn't even look at Harden. Harden says the pick, and his mind is made up. He's throwing this ball back to Covington.
Well, it looked like he realized Chris Paul is in my way, and I got nowhere to go.
Right.
Plus, it's a traffic jam of bodies in the lane.
Yes.
There was no lane for him to take.
Correct.
And again, Russell's only 6'3", so he can't go up at the rim and just own the rim.
I think in a situation like that, Skip, I want James Harden to have the ball in his hand on the last possession.
And he's going to have to, with that little time left, he's going to have to dribble the ball.
I want James Harden to have the ball in his possession, and that's not a knock on Russ because Russ is also a former MVP. But in that situation like that, I want James Harden to have the ball, and I need James to make a more concerted effort to get the ball on one of those 3 last possessions. For him not to have the ball in his hands. And I'm not just talking about skipping that bailout that you mentioned. He shot a late shot clock. You know, I need him to have the ball with some time in his hand. I'm going to trust him. He's going to make the right play or he's going to get fouled. I need James Harden to do that. Russ last night, and sometimes Russ he's out of control, Skip. He tries to do too much. He's a great player, but sometimes you can do too much. We didn't need him in that situation, Skip, to be Hercules. Let someone else help you do some lifting. And I just thought in that situation, he got caught in between. Came off the pick, and he's like, okay, let me just kick it back to Covington. And Covington was like, okay. But I'm going to give Chris Paul.
Well, he didn't even kick it to Covington. He kicked it
out of bounds.
Kicked it out of bounds because he didn't have a plan.
Chris Paul was over that play from the jump because, Skip, he runs around, like you said, P.J. Tucker's going to camp in the left corner. And he's like, man, they're not finna pass you this ball. Let me go around just in case he tries to I'm going to cut him off. But I'm going this is unbelievable, Skip. He takes off immediately and goes to Covington. He knows what's up. So, clearly, they've run this play before, and CP3 diagnosed it, and immediately he goes to Covington, and he gets the turnover.
Well, obviously, he's been playing for the Rockets, so he kind of knows their mindset on these plays.
Right? Exactly. Touche. Right.
But I look at the box score, and once again, the Rockets made 15 threes to just 12 for Oklahoma City. And usually when that happens, you're okay. You're right in the thick of it. And they did. They had a chance to win. But it's hard to overcome 7 turnovers by Russell Westbrook.
5 by Harden. They had 22. Ooh. But here's the thing, Skip. This is what you can't happen. If you're a high turnover team, you can't get pounded on the glass. And because they're so small, their tallest guy is probably Covington at, what, 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah.
They're going to lose the rebounding battle. Well, if you...
It wasn't terrible. They lost by 10.
But, Skip, if you lose that and you turn the ball over 20-plus times...
Yep.
Because what you're doing, you're allowing teams, first of all, you're allowing them to get second chance opportunities, and you're giving up free possessions because you're not even getting a crack at the rim.
Yep.
So now you're doing double harm to yourself. Man. But I'm still taking the Rockets in Game 7.
Are you?
Yeah.
You want a piece of the Rockets? Is that what you want?
Oh, there you go.
Well, do you?
Skip, I want whoever.
I still say the Rockets would give you a much tougher test than the Thunder. The Thunder will get exposed like Portland got exposed, where they're playing over their heads. And Chris Paul, He maxed out last night. I don't know if you can play a better fourth quarter on offense and defense than he played.
Give him credit, Skip. Remember, in game, 5, they lost by 43.
Yeah.
And somehow he regrouped that team.
Yeah.
And down late in the ball game, they found a way to rally and win. That's Chris Paul. Yeah. That ain't coaching. That's Chris Paul. That's the coach on the court. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So what you hold on? You try to say, oh, so what you saying? The Rockets gonna beat the Lakers?
I just think it would get interesting.
Interesting?
Yeah, because they play much better defense than you have given them credit all year long. They are credible on defense now, and I never thought I would say that about a D'Antoni coach team because it's really Coach Antoni. There's no D in D'Antoni.
They don't. So what are they going to do with? What are they going to do with AD? What are they going to do with AD?
Let him beat himself.
Oh, you really? Oh, that's what you? Or let him beat himself like Whiteside and Nurkic did.
You know what? Covington will give him trouble. He would give him trouble.
Okay, so if you put him on Covington, who's going to do something with him?
Covington's an all-defensive player. You get that, don't you?
He ain't no all-defensive player on 6'10 and a half.
Yeah, and the other thing they do, they will switch to zone, and they will play the hell out of you on zone. It'll be all over the place. It'll be a mad scramble, and you can't find somebody.
And LeBron
open.
go get to the middle and lob it up, and JaVale McGee have like 12 dunks.
Okay, who's going to stop James? Who's going to stop Russ from getting to the basket?
Okay. So it sounds like to me you're trying to proposition me for a bet.
All it needs is for them to have 4 games of hot shooting threes. That's all you need, and you're done.
Okay, so what if we have 4 games of hot shooting?
Well, you're going to need them.
No, we're going to need them.